Welcome everyone! Welcome to another preview. This is MetalCanyon and we'll be checking out Space Haven by Bugbite Limited. This is a sort of a mix between Rimworld and Faster Than Light. It has a lot more Rimworld elements than the latter, but yeah, it's sort of a mix between the two. It's right now it's a sandbox game, and it's coming out on Steam and GOG Early Access, well, today, because I'll be posting this on May the 21st. Let me load my game. It is dangerous to go alone. Your chances of beating the aliens radically improve if you have an away team of 4 crew members. Alright, well, welcome to my ship, everyone. This is my lovely, lovely ship, and everyone is asleep right now. Oh yeah, that will require to be a little bit quieter, just so I can babble freely. Alright, so the first thing you will notice that this game looks absolutely fantastic. I love I love nice pixel graphics as is, but this game just sort of takes the cake, really. It looks beautiful to me. You can zoom in. This is pretty much the furthest you can zoom in. I usually play at this or this level now that my ship has gotten a lot bigger. But you can really appreciate all the little details the developers have put into everything. I mean, everything looks like it's been made with love. I know that's a bit of a cliche thing to say, but I mean, just look at the various things. Everything is blinking and moving. And in fact, the really cool thing is a lot of these excuse me, a lot of these blinking and moving things actually mean something. For example, with the generator, it's pretty self-explanatory. It means that it's got fuel and it's working. I mean, the reactor, I suppose. Is it called a reactor? No, it's a power generator. Okay, I'll just call it a reactor. I like that. You know, it's moving and it's blinking and all that stuff. But these little indicators here, and as well as on these energy nodes, power nodes, all of these various types, they also have their own indicators. So you don't actually have to go into the power overlay, for example, to see what's going on your ship. You can visually see how well your power generator is doing with the load you're putting on it. So this is pretty much the biggest generator I have at the moment, or reactor, and it's doing pretty good. We've got 3/4 of capacity left, so to speak. This will change, of course, when things that draw a lot of current will be on. For example, all of this industrial stuff. But that's why I have various batteries around. What the heck happened here? Oh yeah, they took apart an alien or human. We'll get back to that later. So anyway, the game does a very, very good first impression, and it looks as good as it did back then when I first did a preview of pretty much like it was a tech demo before that, when it was still on Kickstarter. And yeah, it got me to kickstart this game as well, and it looks brilliant. Anyway, I'll stop gushing about the looks of the game, but like I said, it just looks really, really good. It also runs extremely well. It's a fairly small game as well, as far as this space is concerned, but it's kind of to be expected. Anyway, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of running the ship and mechanics. The story of this game basically is some sort of a calamity happened to Earth, and apparently everyone had to leave because Earth got, well, uninhabitable, really. So you're playing a bunch of survivors. I think I actually started with just 3 at the beginning. So all of these people I've either saved in one way or another, or 2 of them actually are former pirates that we fought, and then I arrested them, and then over the course of 15 or 20 days, I persuaded them to join my ship. So just like in Rimworld, really. And we'll be doing a lot of comparisons with Rimworld, even though this game definitely stands on its own 2 feet. So there we go, we get Corbin and Sven going into the industrial area, putting their suits on, because I have an airlock over here, because these things usually put out quite a bit of noxious gases that I don't want spreading throughout the rest of my ship. Unfortunately, being in a spacesuit does mean that they move and work slower, and they also get spacesuit fatigue. And everyone has not just their skills, but also statuses So there we go, suit fatigue. I have to be in a spacesuit all the time. It really sucks. And then, of course, reduces their mood. But yeah, the basic premise is calamity happened. Your spaceship is pretty much the only safe haven you have. And right now, I don't know if there's an actual ending to the game. I haven't gotten that far because it is pretty giant. Let me show you. So this is your spaceship. You can find derelicts in space. This is actually a pirate I fought and destroyed, and we've been taking apart their ship. We'll get more to that later. That's pretty fun. You've got asteroids you can mine, but then you can also go to the map. So this is the system we are in right now, and you can go to all these other systems. There. And there's more of them here. I mean, systems. Planets, really. But if we zoom out, there's many, many more things. I started over here, I think. This was the start. And there's much more to explore here. And maybe this will be the ending here. I'm not sure. There seems to be something there. That was weird. I don't think you can actually go past this. But yeah. I mean, the game is pretty huge. I've been playing this for, I don't know, 20 hours now, maybe? And I've only gotten to here. I've explored these star systems. So yeah, the game can take quite a while, especially if you like to take your time and basically cannibalize every ship you come across that's not being inhabited, and mine everything, and so on and so forth. Which you can probably tell... What happened? Which you can probably tell by my by my ability to or tendency to hoard things. Let me just turn off my overlay here on the monitor. I don't think at all that shows in the video, but just in case. Yeah, all of these things with the icon above them, these storages, they are full. And let me tell you, that's quite a bit of stuff. But of course, I like to hoard. I like to get as much as possible because, especially at the beginning of the game, you kind of hurt for things and you want more of them. So, your people will take care of everything from building to eating food, to sleeping, to moving stuff about, which is pretty much logistics. Again, I'm going to reduce this a little bit more. There we go. Just so you can hear me babble because that's so good. And the good thing is, you start with a pretty small ship. Let's say my ship started, I don't know, I think it was about this big. And then you just keep building and building and building once you have the resources, the power, you know, supply, and all of that. But the interesting thing is, if you look at over here, I've called this, for some reason, I always call my spaceships Firestar. That's still from my Star Control 2 days. I always called my precursor starship Firestar for some reason. I just like the name. Anyway, over here you've got the mass, 4,362 out of 4,800. Now what that means is that if you start to go beyond this, I have 3 engines at the moment, and if I go beyond the 4,800, we'll start losing efficiency. So with these engines, my fuel to hyper jumps ratio is 8.3. So with each fuel, hyperfuel, I guess we can do about 8 jumps. And once your ship starts getting heavier and heavier, you will need to build more of these engines. Of course, you know, your efficiency is going to go down anyway because the mass is going to go up. But yeah, that's it. And also the nice thing is that you don't really have to build the cliche symmetrical ship like in a lot of, you know, sci-fi stuff, because this ship never really goes in anywhere near an atmosphere. You're just in space. And of course, in space, most of the time, it doesn't really matter what kind of a shape you have. It does matter where the position of the engines is, but not in this game. And thankfully, because that would be a bloody nightmare. So yeah, you can place your engines anywhere you like, as long as it's on this rear area of the ship, because this is considered the rear. Everything else is, you know, freeform. But the hyperdrive actually cannot be rotated like the other things can be. The hyperdrive stays like this and has to be facing this way. So that is the de facto rear of the ship. And of course, that presents a bit of a problem because you do have a limited amount of space to build your ship on. So over here, we could place maybe 2 more engines if I wanted, maybe. and over here quite a few more, but you know, right now I don't really need this. Now this shuttle over here for the shuttle hangar is probably going to go and load people up so they can cannibalize more of those derelicts. I do like the little details of the RCS firing. Let me just speed things up here. So there's 2 people gonna go, and they're going to that ship. Alright. So they're going to dock with this airlock. You can see that this place is pretty much almost completely gone. And they're taking stuff apart. Now, taking apart derelicts is really cool. Not only does it remind me of Firefly, so, you know, you're living on the frontier of civilization, surviving by scavenging these husks. I don't know, it's really cool. I always, that theme always appealed to me in games very much. I don't know why, but it does. But it's really cool. This place has been pretty much taken apart almost completely already, but if you click on a derelict, you get a very snazzy interface where you can select what you want to salvage. We just have a little bit of hull scrap left here. We've already gotten everything else. You can select whether you want to transfer that or not in the meantime. And then you have the transfer window where it shows you what is still left on the derelict. And for some reason, there's nothing left here, not even scrap. So they're not going to take anything back with them. Unfortunately, he's taking that apart. They're leaving. There we go. And yeah, unfortunately, he also wanted to leave, but they didn't wait for him. The good thing is the X1 airlock will provide oxygen here, despite the fact that there's nothing else on the ship and no power supply. So I don't know. Maybe they'll change that with various difficulties or something. So they come back empty-handed this time around, and there's going to be 3 people going probably to that pirate ship. Let me speed things up again. Yes, they are. So there's a lot more stuff to actually take apart here. And that's their space shuttle, or, well, shuttle. But we have no use for that. I've never found a way to actually take these. So you can see that when they've taken stuff apart, it leaves little boxes around of various scrap. And they're going to bring it to the airlock, and then it gets loaded up on our shuttle, which has 10 spaces. And 4 spaces for people. They can also float in their spacesuits, because the spacesuits do have RCS on them, so you know they're free to float about, but it does take a little while. So as per usual, I've told them to salvage everything from the ship and then also transfer everything. They've already transferred most of the stuff that was lying about, so that's all right. And you can also select various settings like auto resource, auto maintenance, spacesuits on, but it doesn't really matter for derelicts, I suppose, because they do that automatically. Now all of these asteroids I've already mined. The asteroids are quite important because a lot of the times they will give you ice blocks, which you can turn into water. They will give you energium, which are crystals that you turn into power rods for your generator and such, and hyperium, which also gives you you can process into hyperfuel. And then you've got metals and noble metals and carbon and raw chemicals. So there's quite a lot of different stuff in this game you can get. You might have noticed that little leg over there, 62 meat from a human. I'll explain that. You can have your crew eat human meat. That is completely possible. I don't know what happens, if there are any repercussions psychologically or whatever. But yes, you can have the kitchen use human meat as well as monster meat, none of which I'm doing now because over here I'm growing my own stuff. I'm growing fruits, vegetables, and lots of artificial meat because for some reason that was never in stockpile, so I built 2 of these just for the meat. And over here I've got my autopsy table on which I chop apart humans and chop apart monsters. The only reason I do that is because it's a bit of extra money. The crew doesn't seem to mind, and I can always sell the monster meat and the human meat to traders that happen to come by. And, well, you know, like I said, it's a little bit of extra meat. So, I mean, money. So these guys are working. This is a recycler, which will turn all the scrap slowly into usable material. So, for example, to build half an infra block, I need 1 scrap of, well, infra scrap. So it's basically 2 to 1. And that's pretty cool. Infra scrap is used for most of the building stuff on the ship. So you've also probably noticed by now that there's quite a lot of different stuff going on in the game. You've got storages, you've got shuttle base, you've got miner base. These are mining pods, by the way, for one person, which go out and take apart derelicts, only the outside of them to get hull scrap, or they go to asteroids and mine them. I actually placed 2 extra over here, just to speed things up when I need it. You've got power generation and power nodes and batteries. You've got engines. You've got, let me do it like this. You've got shield stuff. You've got laser weapons. You've got scanners, which at the moment I find pretty useless. But anyway, you've got all this industrial stuff. You know, various things for example, optronics, to make optronics, to make electronics, to make chemicals, to make steel plates. And of course, a lot of these things have several recipes as well. And it's really nice because the UI, which has been recently updated actually, gives you a very nice little useful, practical, intuitive way of doing things. So for example, with the chemicals, or let's say I want medical supplies. I've got 10 at the moment, and let's say I want them to make medical supplies if there are less than 5. There we go, done. And whenever there are less than 5 medical supplies, they will go and use some of the plastics and the fabrics and the chemicals to make medical supplies. Of course, I don't have any plastics or fabrics. I would need to build more stuff for that. And then you have oxygen, oops. Then you have the water processor here, which is pretty darn important. You've got the tools facility, which is basically critical to your existence, because without it, you cannot really build anything. You've got a medical bed, which is just placed over here. You've got a jukebox, an arcade machine, a kitchen, a place where they can eat, beds. You've got a toilet. You've got walls and doors you can place down. You've got all this command stuff like the navigation console, the operation console, the shield console, the weapons console over here. There's a lot of things to build. So if I just go over here to the system, look at all this stuff. Airlocks, storages, food stuff, resources. All of these are industrial things. You've got the power stuff, life support. Yes, there's also, this is oxygen, by the way. What is it? Water. Okay. How much water do we have? 4. And we have 11 ice blocks, so we're fine. We've got oxygen generating machines here and CO2 scrubbers. I'll show you that in just a bit. Then you've got facilities like toilets, kitchens, and so on. You've got various furniture like lights, which they do like to have because it increases comfort, beds, couches, tables where they can eat. And then you've got various walls, which actually serve a purpose because they create rooms. So for example, if there was no wall over here, the comfort of the power generator, which has a giant negative because I suppose it's large, very noisy, and, you know, very unpleasant, would just make this entire room horrible to sleep in and eat in. It even seeps through the wall over here a little bit, as you can see, because it's quite close. But because of the wall, the rest of this room is very nice. And in fact, over here, they got a lot of comfort because of the jukebox, arcade machine, the bed, the kitchen, and the lights. So they're quite comfortable over here. Unfortunately, the way this works at the moment is that you cannot really mix and match things. So for example, I cannot make this room at least somewhat tolerable by putting a lot of nice stuff in it, because as soon as you have something negative in a room, for example here, the light is nullified by negative comfort, and that is the toilet. And even though, you know, this one light wouldn't really do much against the -16 of the toilet, it just gets cancelled out completely. So there's really no point. For example, you can see here, I've got several lights around, and it's all nullified by all the refineries and such. So I would wish that, like in Rimworld, you could make rooms a little bit more comfortable. But, oh well, it's not a biggie. Especially because right now, I don't feel like people really lose happiness much. They will take care of their basic needs like food and, you know, sleeping for energy, and social, they will talk to each other. Safety, how safe this crew member feels. I've never actually checked this. It's interesting. Okay. But I've never really seen anyone's mood drop down really far like in Rimworld, or have a breakdown or anything like that. I don't know if that is actually in the game yet, or this is due to the fact that I like to play on base building difficulty or whatever it is. I don't know. Like in Rimworld, in these types of games, I like to play on the easy difficulties as far as threats go, because I just like to take my time, build up a nice ship, get a lot of stuff together, but also have some threats. I don't like it completely peaceful. I do like some threats, but I don't like them to be overwhelming where I have to just struggle all the time. So yeah, I don't know if that is up to that or not, so I'll hold my comments for now. There's also the hypersleep chambers, which are horrendously hungry. They need... I don't see that right now. They've got nothing in their inventory, but yeah, they need power, these ones, the energy rods, and they just gobble them up when you go into hyperspace. But fortunately, when you go across a system, that's not needed. It's only needed when you go from one star to another, and even then, it doesn't seem to be necessary or even included in the game mechanics yet, because it says that if you jump without these hypersleep chambers for each of the crew members, they might feel sick and nauseous and all of that making a jump. But none of that ever happened before I had all the hypersleep chambers, so I don't think that mechanic is actually in the game just yet. So there we go, they got some free time. You can actually set their schedule over here. They were sleeping and now they have some free time at, oh god, 5 in the morning, if this is ship time. And then it's all work time. You can, of course, set different people on... what is this? Copy settings. You can... Oh, that's nice. You can also set different schedules for different people if you wish. But I don't really find that necessary myself. I also like having them all at the same place because I think they get their social up quite quickly like that. And they play some games and listen to some jukebox stuff and so on and so forth, so that's pretty cool. I really do like all the systems, all the mechanics that are in the game. For example, you've got... There's the vents. I have these ones closed because for the growing purposes, the game suggests that you have a room with lights and a CO2 producer. So here is my CO2 producer, which produces CO2 for plant growth. But I don't really see much of a difference because my CO2 value over here is 25 to 26 and elsewhere in the ship it's 22. Obviously here is 1 because there's no oxygen there at all. But yeah, I mean, it's not much of a difference. So I don't know if this actually is in the game yet or not. This thing seems to be idling most of the time. It does seem to work a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I also have a thermal regulator. That's for the temperature. So over here it's a cool... oh, that's because it's close to this engine area, because the engine area is at -40. It's not really necessary for me to heat this place up because nobody ever goes in here apart from repairs or building stuff, and they'll just put a spacesuit on there anyway. So the rest of the ship is at a comfortable 21 to 22 degrees. Slightly cooler over here, but that's actually good for sleeping. That's not bad. Then we have the toxic gases, which I had a lot of in my industrial area until I actually thought, wait a second, the hazardous gas scrubber doesn't just remove CO2, it also removes smoke and toxic gases. So before I'd put this in here, this place was just completely filled with green, horrible, noxious gases, which was pretty funny. You've got the smoke overlay. Obviously, I have no smoke now, no fires or anything. CO2, there's my O2. So this is my oxygen. There's quite a lot. It's on high at the moment. And over here I've got almost 0 oxygen, and over there it is devoid of oxygen. That's why I have the spacesuit doors. But considering that this scrubber does such a good job of preventing toxic gases, I'm thinking I'm going to get rid of the spacesuit airlock and just put a normal door here so people can work here without spacesuits because, well, they work slower and they don't like it that much. Then we also have the isolated areas. That's to check if all of your areas on the ship are accessible. Then you've got available jobs. For example, someone can make more water here. Someone can work on the recycler here, and so on and so forth. There we go. This is now green because someone is going to probably be making more water because I have it set on 10. There we go. They're making water. And you've got the comfort, which is pretty cool. I've already showed you that. It's quite important that people feel good here in the wreck area. You've got the temperature, which is nice throughout the ship, like I said, and the power. Now, this one is pretty interesting and can get a little puzzly sometimes because each of these power generations or power nodes or batteries, well, batteries only have 2, but each of these have 3 maximum connections. So what you have to do is you have to figure out how to connect your entire ship and how you want it connected due to priority. So for example, if I need to fill up my my shields over here, that's my shield, and my weapons, power will need to run from the generator past this and into this node and then into this node and the batteries. But that's why I have so many, I have 2 of the batteries here just in case I have some jumps in electrical consumption here, which I haven't really noticed yet. This area does use a lot of power a lot of the time when there's more people working, so I do have 2 batteries here as well, and you know, but it's pretty cool. And like I said, all of these green things on the batteries and the green bars on the power nodes and such, they actually tell you how much power is available. And if I had more people working here at the same time, you would actually see this power go down, but not at the moment because I have a very powerful generator and quite a lot of power stored, so, you know. But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. I like the overlays. I like the fact that the gases are simulated. So for example, because I want this area full of CO2, I have the vents on these doors closed. You can also open them, of course. You see, beep, beep. It's closed and now it's open again, which means that no oxygen or CO2 will go through, unless of course when they open the doors. But I still have enough oxygen over here because I suppose every time they go through, it jumps through a little bit. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, that was interesting. I wonder, maybe that's why the CO2 isn't working that well, but I don't really want my people to be working in spacesuits in here. And we have enough food anyway. So what else is there? I should probably say that this game is a lot of fun. Are they? Okay, they're still working on that. They're taking stuff apart. There we go. There's also combat involved in the game between ships and between people. So for example, he has an assault rifle here, Sven, and you can draft them just like in Rimworld, and they will shoot at people freely. It's a little less involved than in Rimworld. There's no taking cover per se at the moment, well, or at all. It's just a free-for-all. People also cannot seem to shoot friendlies, so you can bunch them up however much you like. You can make them crouch. I think that's for increased accuracy. But yeah, it's okay. The way it works, you simply go on a ship and you place people somewhere you think they'll be safe. And if you spotted some aliens or humans, well, they'll start shooting at each other anyway, and then you go to the next room and so on and so forth. I have to say that combat is not very involved. There's not a lot of thoughts I put into it. I mean, oh, there's a lot of stuff from that. You know, I send them to a room, have them shoot stuff, send them to another room, have them shoot stuff. I honestly think, although I might be biased here because I do love me some turn-based combat, I honestly think turn-based combat would be a lot better for person-to-person or person-to-alien combat. Not ship combat, maybe. But yeah, I really do think that would be better, especially because the game is based on a grid, basically. So, you know, it would be fairly easy to do that. But yeah, that would be a lot more strategic and involved, I think. Right now, like I said, it's just move, shoot, and that's it. And most of the time you will win. But of course, I am playing on a lower difficulty, so that might be the case as well. Ship combat, not much to it, really. you have to get your people to man the turrets. Usually the shields as well. It's a good thing because they will replenish them. And then simply order both of the turrets that I have to fire on the enemy ship. Now you can order them to fire on the enemy turrets, for example, or the enemy shield generator, but I've never managed to actually take it down before the actual ship went down. I don't know how that works. I was taking their turret down to like 3 health, and then it just stopped taking damage, and I kept doing damage to their hull, so no idea. You can also invade other ships by docking like this. Of course, they won't like that, and unfortunately, my people are cowards. Bravery 1, Bravery 2, Bravery 2, Bravery 1, Bravery 2, Bravery 2, Bravery 1, which means that they are very quick to surrender, which sucks, because you're thinking, oh, I've got a chance here, I'm gonna, you know, kill these pirates, and then your people just put their hands up, and that's it. And then you can negotiate for the release, or they will just kill them, or they will take them, and so on and so forth. There's more stuff planned for that. I believe there's stuff planned for aliens to abduct your crew members, cocoon them, and so on and so forth. I haven't seen any of that yet. I've only seen tiny little aliens scurrying about some of the derelicts, and you have to take them out before you actually scavenge a derelict. Let's speed things up so I can also show you more stuff. So there's a couple of minuses right now that I would say. One is that this game, I think, is desperate, absolutely desperate for more sound effects. You can hear there's sound effects for doors opening, there's sound effects for the unloading of the stuff, there's sound effects for shooting, but they're very, very teeny. And there's sound effects, I don't know, there's a couple more sound effects. And that's it. There's nothing else. Oh yeah, for the lasers firing and hitting. But they're also very teeny. Oh, what the hell did you do? No, don't walk into the fire. Okay, there we go. Jeez. I got hurt a little bit. Do we have any smoke there? A little bit. It's not a big deal. It's safe. High body temperature, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, 26. It did increase a little bit, but because we have these thermal regulators around, they will make sure... Where is the thermal regulator? Oh, there. They will make sure that to either increase or decrease the temperature in a room. That's why I have thermal regulators in rooms like this, because these things produce a lot of heat. Anyway, yeah, this game desperately needs more sound effects. I would love to be able to zoom in like this and hear the hum of the reactor, or these things working, or the engine spooling up, or I don't know, the light fans on the growing beds, or the thrusters of the shuttle. I know that it's supposed to be space out there, and you know, sound doesn't really propagate because there's nothing to propagate through, but I would love that. I would love more sound effects. More sound effects, please. The other thing is content. There's a lot of things you can place down, and quite a lot of things you can do, but at the end of the day, and I don't know, this is a caveat, I don't know if this is due to me playing on a lower difficulty, but after about, I don't know, 15 hours-ish? Actually, more like after 10 hours, I basically built up this ship, and now the only thing I'm doing is going around scavenging these derelicts and hoarding more stuff. And that's it. You know? Let's take all this. And occasionally fighting a pirate and trading with a ship. There's not much else. You can also find some logs, some entries on derelicts, which are pretty interesting to read. They give you a little bit of backstory, but that's about it. Negotiating with different factions doesn't really take much. You can give them gifts to slightly increase your reputation with them, but they're insane gifts. Like, I have 4,000 credits, and a small gift would be like, I don't know, 1,000 credits and 10 food and 5 of these energy rods. It's like, what? I mean, yeah, now that I have a lot of stuff, it doesn't really matter that much, but yeah. So yeah, content, I mean, don't get me wrong, this game is super fun. I love the mechanics, I love the look, I love how it plays great. There's no bugs that I've encountered yet, apart from the actual aliens. I love where it's going. It is an excellent, excellent base for adding more content now, and I hope they'll do that. Well, it is planned. I just want to show you jumping to a new place now. So yeah, if you decide to buy this now in early access, you can be definitely sure you'll get about 20 hours of enjoyment out of this in the beginning. Definitely. But this game is just gonna go better and better and better because, well, they're really doing a good job. I mean, everything is very nice. The UI changes are excellent. Everything is quite intuitive now. Nothing ever really frustrated me, apart from maybe sometimes the AI of the crew members when they go on away missions like this, automatically. Well, for example, these people have nothing to do. See Corbin here? He's going here and waiting. And for some reason, the shuttle is waiting to be fully loaded before it actually goes and gets him. So sometimes that can be a little bit annoying, but it's nothing, no biggie really. So Corbin now didn't go because there were more things he needed to transport. But yeah, you will definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of this. I would feel completely safe recommending this. Oh, there's the miner that was taking apart their ship, the derelict. I would feel completely safe recommending you to buy this now if you like the look of this and if you like games like Rimworld. Absolutely, you will have fun. I had a lot of fun with it, and I do come back to it every now and then and keep hoarding more stuff and keep taking apart more derelicts. But yeah, it would definitely benefit from more content and more... see, there's just one person working here, despite the fact that all of these guys are free right now. That's quite annoying. And there's still more stuff to get on this ship, I think. There's nothing here. Okay, we can actually go now. There's nothing left to take, pretty much. So, oh yeah, they won't do it now because they're on their coffee break, and then they'll go to sleep. But next day, we'll tell the ship to jump, to prepare for a jump. They will do so. Someone will go to the navigation console and start up the process, which will spool up the engines. It looks pretty darn cool. And then we can jump. We've got 26 jumps available with our current fuel reserves, which is kind of weird because we've got 18 hyperfuel. And this says the ratio is 8.3, so I'm not really sure. Oh yeah, because each of them uses 2? I don't know. Alright, so there we go. Giselle over there is going there. She's going to spool up the engines. Look at that. See, sound effects, please. Sound effects. All right, and now we're ready to jump. We can jump. That was cool. And we've already been here, so we're going to the next one. We jump. There's some water there. All right, let's jump into this one. And it takes just a very short amount of time, and you can select where you want to basically appear in the sector. So over here, it doesn't matter. We'll just get over here, and now people will get into... Oh yeah, I have to actually tell them to mine these asteroids. There we go. And now they will get into the miners. There we go. Fly over there and start mining. And like everything in this game, it looks pretty darn cool. Look at that. Look. And again, no sound effects. Everything is very quiet. Anyway, I've babbled enough for now. I love this game. I loved it when I first saw it. It just looks brilliant. It plays very nicely. It's very satisfying to build stuff, even though sometimes it can get a little bit annoying because, well, if you have places that they cannot get to, for example, if I were to build something here and these two blocks were inaccessible, the game would constantly nag you about the inaccessible stuff. And, yeah, oh well, it's not a big deal. But anyway, yeah, I love the game. I do recommend it. Just be aware that right now, there's a limited amount of content and, you know, almost no sound effects. But yeah, this game is just gonna get better and better and better. I'll put all the relevant links down below. I hope you've enjoyed this little preview, despite the fact that I didn't really show you any combat or anything, but hey, let that be a surprise for you. It's pretty cool. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.